Hello, welcome to Reading Into It. I'm Cody D. Campbell, and today I'm going to be reviewing one of my favorite games of all time, Night in the Woods. I've been struggling with the urge to boot up Night in the Woods again since the moment I finished playing it. It is, in my opinion, a masterpiece. It's a combination of platformer and visual novel with rhythm-based mini-games sprinkled throughout. The art direction is minimalist, featuring anthropomorphic animal characters and vibrantly colored assets set against a beautiful fall landscape. The gameplay itself is simple. Move, jump, and interact pretty much sum up all of the controls. The minigames are the only real mechanical challenges. They can be pretty tough to beat, but that's not really a big deal because there isn't any kind of money or inventory system in the game. There aren't any collectible or usable items for you to be rewarded with, so there's no pressure to perform well. That might seem lame to some of you, but that's actually one of the coolest things about the game. Most of the minigames aren't repeatable. You only get one shot at them, so there's a good chance you aren't going to do well. That means that you, as the player, are forced to personally interact with one of the story's central themes, learning to let go of personal failures and move on. Mechanical challenges aren't what drive the game, though. The narrative does. You play May, a 20-year-old girl returning home to the sleepy mountain town of Possum Springs after dropping out of college. You meet up with your parents and your friends from high school, attempting to reintegrate into a life you left behind. Most everyone is happy to see you, but that happiness is tempered by the fact that it's been a year since you left, and most of them have moved on with their lives. There's also the looming question of why May dropped out, which she dodges every time someone brings it up. People are still drawn to her though. May has a counterculture attitude with a sharp wit, tempered by a low sense of self-worth and a powerful sense of guilt. Her clumsy charm, self-awareness, and die-hard loyalty make her instantly likable and extraordinarily sympathetic. But as brilliant as May is on her own, it's the community of Possum Springs that fleshes the world out and makes her feel real. Bee was the valedictorian of her high school class, but her father had a nervous breakdown when her mother died, leaving her as the only one left to take over the family business. This killed her dream of going to college, budding a sense of resentment towards May, her former best friend, for dropping out. Greg works in a mini-mart and is dealing with some anger issues. He has a strongly destructive nature fed by his boundless energy. This combination of traits is in constant conflict with his desire to be viewed as a good person. He feels unworthy of the love of his boyfriend Angus while simultaneously wanting nothing more than to be the person that Angus needs. Angus is more reserved. He's quiet, polite, scientifically minded, and gentler than his friends. Angus is usually the voice of reason, citing his history of childhood abuse as having taught him to appreciate good people all the more. But he can also be less forgiving than the others, revealing a dark side when his friends are threatened. Was that enough? I could honestly go on for ages talking about all the different characters in this game. I already feel like I'm doing it a massive disservice by not going into the carnival of emotions I felt during my interactions with May's parents. But I'm afraid that if I start listing the virtues of every character in the game, then I'll never stop. The story is constructed in a really interesting way as well. It starts out as the simple tale of a girl coming home after dropping out of college, and that's honestly where most of the emotional tension is held. But it eventually grows into something deeper when May sees a ghost. She begins having these crazy dreams that involve exploring messy blockscapes with vague outlines of giant creatures in the background. She has to find musicians in order to piece together all the instrumental segments of a song so that she can unlock the way forward. I'm sure a good Freudian could find a lot of meaning in a young girl who happens to be a musician that feels lost, trying to find all the pieces of a broken and half-remembered song while feeling tiny in the shadow of the massive unknown. But, I wouldn't know anything about that. She rallies her friends to help her investigate all the most haunted places in Possum Springs in order to find the truth. But the mystery is really just the framework for the characters to air out everything that's happened between them, so that May can rediscover her friends and learn about all the ways they've changed since she's been gone. Night in the Woods has some of the most charming dialogue I've ever read in my entire life. The writing in this game goes well beyond witty banter. It's hilarious, but it's also honest and personal in a way that you don't see very often. May's journey weaves stress, depression, and existential dread with Lovecraftian supernatural horror. It gets intense and philosophical. It asks difficult questions, and the answers it comes to aren't always the ones you're used to hearing. Most of the things I've talked about are aesthetic, but there is a beating heart to this game that I can't explain without spoiling the story. If you'd like to play the game, I've linked it in the description down below. For more reviews, you can subscribe to this channel, or you can go to my website at codydcampbell.com, where I run a media review blog. You can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/CodyDCampbell. That way you can come, ask any questions, or just hang out, chat while I play new games. Thanks for watching.